What? That started immediately. What happened to the countdown?
No, I had a countdown.
Did it?
Is this our introduction now?
This is now our introduction.
Our latest introduction. When
you were like, James, you do it this time. And I was like, oh.
Yeah,
We're
hit the button and then surprised when it actually works.
Yeah. Hey, fellow ServiceNow devotees. Get ready to embark on a journey through the fascinating realm of ServiceNow with none other than the service ducks themselves. I'm James Downs.
And I'm Russ here. Whether you're new to ServiceNow, pre-Aspen veteran, or just a curious soul, we're here to bring you ServiceNow curiosities, exhilarating interviews, and don't forget the infamous A to Z game.
But mostly, it's about the random ramblings of two middle-aged guys with a funny story or to tell, right?
Yeah, true. The ducks are ready, the mics are on, and we can't wait to have you join us. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Service Ducks podcast.
Normal service has resumed.
Yes, indeed. Yes, welcome back. Another episode of the Service Ducks podcast. As regular as usual, Russ, we are with our episode cadence. But it's it's a busy time.
I was getting talking to some work colleagues this week. I was getting a bit of a hard time for the cadence that we're producing at the minute. In terms of we need to step up the regularity again.
Yeah,
and in true fashion, I'm going to start off by picking on what's that on your shelf now? What are those little models?
Oh, I wish I could take. I'm going to bring a couple across because you're right to notice that they are new additions.
Ooh, the bonsai tree that was there before. I'm sure it was.
So I think, before I had the Mercedes car and stuff, didn't I?
Yeah.
These are all Game of Thrones models. So let's show you a few.
Hang on. We'll wait till you get closer.
Yep.
Go on then.
Okay. Oh, get it right. Oh, wow, that's awful.
Yeah. Hodor.
Hodor, yeah. Well done. Yeah. What kind of daughter's been named after?
Hey, yeah. I've got a Funk Pop figure of that one. It keeps falling on my head.
Yeah, I've got loads. I've literally got a whole collection, probably about, 40, 50 of them.
Jeez, that's surely that's an easy birthday and Christmas present for you then.
Well, it would have been if it wasn't part of one of those magazine sort of deals where you just get it every month and
Right, I see. Yeah. Good addition.
Yeah, pretty smart. Yeah, on the shelf.
So what's new? What's been happening? How's your training going? I didn't mean to do that.
What was that?
Anyone can see this. So if you're watching the video episode of this, I'm using a Mac. And in Mac, they've got things like gestures. So whenever I move my hands, it does stuff on screen. So it's like if I do a thumbs up, it'll do a thumbs up. There we go. So I didn't mean to give you a thumbs down before, but I did.
That's okay.
How's the training going?
What have you been up to? Anything good?
Yeah, your race. Tell us, James.
Yeah, well, obviously I've booked in a half marathon. I can't remember if we went over this last time. Maybe not. Maybe we've just been talking about
but I'm asking how your training's going.
Training. Oh well, yeah. The train generally it's slow still.
Is that slow in pace or slow in? You do it sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's still. I think just because work's really busy at the moment, it's very hard to. More excuses. Find the time to get out there. I've been doing bits. I've been ticking over. Let's say I still need to get the long runs in because, as I mentioned, training for a half marathon. So I do need to do a lot more than what I'm doing right now. But I'm getting by. You're
getting by. You're not feeling the nervousness of have I done enough yet?
I think because I've done 2 half marathons now.
It's easy now for you. Easy.
Do it in your sleep. As I'm saying that, I'll probably end up doing half of it, then walking the rest.
Yeah, why not? It's
like what happened in Manchester, but that day was incredibly hot. I remember that.
Well, it's going to be hot this time, isn't it? When did it book for?
Yeah, end of July. So yeah, probably.
Yeah. So having said that, if you are in the UK at the minute, it's April. On? So just to fill you in, so I've been in North Carolina this week. Arrived back yesterday morning. So bear in mind, it was 30 degrees, muggy, warm, t-shirt, sunglasses, got off the plane. I'm like, what is this I've come back to? It's funny how you...
mid-March.
Well, I said that. It's funny how you get... I was only there for like 3 or 4 days, and you get acclimatized going, oh, this is lovely. And then you come back and you're like, your brain tricks you. And you're like, have I gone back in time? But yeah, it's quite miserable at the minute. It's quite miserable.
Yeah.
What else have you been up to?
So I've got a ServiceNow event that I'm
we don't want to hear about ServiceNow stuff.
None. No one's here for that anyway. So.
Yeah, no one cares. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so it's a creative workflow event. So I'm talking at the Little Ship Club. I think by the time this episode goes out, it's probably the same day it's happening, so I can't advertise it to say go sign up, go register for it. Because, I don't know. I think today will be the day where it happens, but it's and I'm co-presenting with ServiceNow on the benefits and the value behind low-code development and citizen development.
Okay.
And, App Engine Studio and all that kind of thing.
Is this a DXC thing or a ServiceNow thing?
Yes, it's hosted by DXC. And co-managed, I guess. Yeah. So we're both putting people in, and
that's a pretty good opportunity.
Customers in who have done it, and it's an interesting space, isn't it? Because when you talk to like the value behind low code, it's a hard thing to kind of quantify because you can obviously it's all about acceleration and creating of new apps and things like that. But it's all about the governance. Once again,
are you going to talk about hyper automation? Please say you are.
No, I'm not going to mention that word. I know how much that word grinds your gears.
So are you kind of are you on stage doing a presentation?
Yep.
To customers, is it, or anyone?
Yeah, to customers. Yeah.
Can I go there and heckle?
No, your name's on the blacklist
on the naughty list.
That's it. Yeah,
that'll be all right then. So is it going to be a Q&A session, or are you just? Have you got room for Q&A? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah. So there's a like panel session at the end, which I'll be in, as well as doing my own little segment. So there's a little bit of Gen AI in there as well. Unfortunately, I'm not doing that bit. ServiceNow's doing that bit, but I'm the session before the Gen AI session to talk about DXC's experience.
You're the warm-up act.
Implementing. That's it. Yeah. Everyone's here.
That sounds like really good fun. I hope you're going to document it all.
Do my little video series.
I hope you are. I hope you are going to document it, or at least it's definitely going to make some good podcast fodder when you come back.
Yes, it will.
I want to hear about that. I want some pictures and stuff.
Yeah, I might take a few selfies.
Well, exactly. You got to. Yeah, no, get some selfies with some more credible people than yourself and me.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I've been doing is I mentioned I've been busy. So a lot more customer conversations about Gen AI. I think it's really interesting at the moment, that balance between Now Assist and like other LLMs. So OpenAI, Bard, Copilot. We've seen at Knowledge how it kind of like interacts with each other. So it's companies are taking different approaches. There's some which are going purely down the Now Assist route. I think everyone's kind of got a strategy. But it's it's an interesting space to have conversations.
So have you noticed the conversational uptake since Knowledge?
Yes, I guess so. I mean, it was already quite high up on everyone's agenda before Knowledge.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, so it was. I think probably even more so in seeing what was available. I think it's now what's different was before it was about Gen AI in ITSM or CSM or HR. Now it's going much more wider than that.
Really?
The net's going, with the conversations I'm having in things like manufacturing or OT, like completely, away from your usual kind of implementation stuff that you do in ServiceNow or even non-ServiceNow.
So when you say they've got a strategy, are they and again only talk about what you can talk about, but are they coming saying we've got a strategy or we think we've got one, help us build it out?
It's a combination of both, to be honest with you. There's some where they've had actually defined their AI strategy and they're like, right, you know what, we've invested in Microsoft Copilot, for example. So we don't want to spend licenses with OpenAI or spend licenses on Now Assist, for example.
That's the thing,
It's a
isn't
different
it?
conversation.
Yeah, that's the thing that you as ServiceNow nerd, you kind of, I guess it's not at the forefront of my mind, right? It's like you got these ServiceNow offerings, but as a strategy, as a company, they might have bought something else. Why would you? And if they do, how do they play well together? I don't know the answer.
No, exactly. And
I'm not close enough to that kind of sphere at the minute with AI, obviously, because I'm doing other projects.
The other half of that question they asked me about, do they actually have a strategy? And some of the people that we talk to are quite isolated from that discussion as well within their own company. So they might have their own idea of what they're going to achieve with AI, but they're not connected with other areas of their business.
And this is what we were talking about the other week, because I was going to ask you, I was going to say, these conversations you're having, what type of people are in the room? The virtual room, whatever it is, what type of people? Is it just IT, CEO, CIO kind of people? Or, last time we were talking about how companies are going to have to stand up functions or department-specific AI to run it. So you're from what you're saying, then they're having those isolated conversations.
Yeah, there's still a lot of them are these isolated, the usual people you would talk to around IT and CIOs.
That's interesting. That's almost like a playback of. Do you remember back in the day when like HR would go off and do their own thing, buy their own products, and then you know what I mean, come back to IT to say you can support it. Well, we've got no knowledge of. You must have had this back on your service desk days when you get a phone call and someone say this isn't working. You go, well, what's that?
Yeah,
to HR. Well, we don't know. We don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be interesting. That sounds good fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably the most enjoyable part of my day now. I think is having those kind of conversations.
Yeah, you're gonna have to keep us updated. Take us along the journey. Yeah, there's a lot of people, me included, that aren't close enough to it yet. Are excited by it, but haven't had the opportunity to get close to it yet. I think. But no, we need to keep abreast of what's going on. I've said the word abreast there, by the way.
I think it's still in that kind of early emerging area. I think, it's still, there's still not too many customers who actually have built AI integrations or have Now Assist. It's not like widely accessible still, but it's getting there. It's definitely getting there.
You've reminded me of something else, something cool. So there's a guy I'm working with at the minute that has got, I think it's the Telegram group, right? So the Telegram, the app, there's a group on that service now. I'm not a member of it anymore. I didn't find it that useful, to be honest. But he's created this bot, which is an AI bot, which links into all the ServiceNow documentation. So it's AI. So if you're on Telegram, you can ask it a question, and it'll come back with kind of Chat GPT style, but it's ServiceNow specific. Yeah, there's a web front end. So when I told him I'm not on Telegram anymore, he sent me the web front end. It's quite cool though. It's quite cool. Obviously, he's just playing around with it, see what it can do. Is there any merit in it? But yeah, it's very cool that you got people that aren't necessarily working on the AI stuff that are interested and excited to get involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, how much do you use like ChatGPT, or have you signed up to ChatGPT 4.0, or do you use it at all when
I've been a bit naughty
content?
I have been a bit naughty. So I like to think I'm quite financially astute, right? And what I mean by that is I do like a financial review every 6 months of myself. And I this sounds really nerdy. This is a ServiceNow podcast, by the way, people. But I look at things like, am I getting the best interest rates? I look at things like pensions, my pensions I've got, consolidate them. And I look at things like, can I stooge? So basically, can I move my bank account from one company to another in order to get their free 100 quid for switching and stuff like that? And I'll look at all my direct debits and make sure this is not just me, it's the household I look at. And I'll look at, are we getting the best rate for broadband? Let's negotiate, let's go moan, let's go get down. Because a lot of people don't do that and you're missing out on money. However, I signed up for, Christmas present. So my daughter wrote, my daughter's primary school age. She wrote a story in part of her work at school before Christmas, and it got into a competition. She won this competition. So I thought, it's going somewhere, this story, by the way. I thought, because when they get a bit older, it's hard to figure out what to buy them, because girls as they get older, they don't really want toys. They want stuff that us dads haven't got a clue about. So I thought, right, I'm going to get this story and I'm going to publish it on Amazon. How cool would it be to then present it on Christmas Day, just bring up a page and go, this is your story on Amazon, people can buy it, right? So I was going to get it printed using Canva. I was going to use Canva. You can do this. You can publish on Amazon. And I signed up for Midjourney.
Yeah.
Right. So Midjourney, $10 or $12 a month for Midjourney to get the pictures.
Yeah.
And I spent a good few nights trying to get the pictures consistent across each of the pages, right? The characters consistent for the pages. So I could get the prompts right to say what I want the illustrations, but the characters kept changing every page.
Yeah.
And I got fed up and bored with it.
Yeah.
The long story short, I'm still paying for a Midjourney subscription, $12 a month that I don't use. So although I like to keep a check on those things, I've let it go. The point being, what I should do is cancel it and sign up for something I do use regularly, which is ChatGPT. I'll sign up for the paid subscription.
Yeah.
So, yeah, long story, waffle.
Yeah.
No, I don't, but I should do, and I want to.
Yeah. You almost need that kind of consolidated one like ChatGPT where you can go into DALL-E, you can go, generate your images plus having the chat and whatever else.
Yeah, but why did you ask me that question before I interrupted
I don't know.
you and took you down another garden path?
I was kind of evaluating it myself, because a lot of the times the questions we get from our customers is, well, okay, how do you use Gen AI? Prove where you've used it and it's become valuable.
Of course, yeah.
And I think of myself in terms of the work that I do and how I use AI. A lot of it is because where I struggle is in being able to just write something down that makes sense. There's a lot of ideas in my head. And I think what I found really useful is I could chat to ChatGPT or in a conversation and I'll say, right, this is what I'm going to try and achieve. A lot of time it's just a mind fart of information. It makes no sense when I'm writing it down. But then it's like, articulate that back to me. Give me something that I haven't touched on, or do you know what I mean? That give me something back.
You can expand on it.
Yeah, expand on it. Yeah, give me ideas. And I think that's where it's really worked. Not necessarily to copy and paste what they've said, but they would bring up things that go, aha, I didn't think about that. I can then expand on that myself.
Yeah. I think I use it the same way, but what I tend to do is I use you can use Microsoft Dictate or Apple Dictate or whatever.
Yeah.
I literally, and I can do this on my phone, I will literally bring up Notepad and I'll just talk normally like you and I are now, and I'll ask it to summarize it and then I'll go from there. So if I'm trying to do a documentation, I'll literally talk at it how I want things to sound in my natural voice.
Yeah.
Which certainly isn't what I want to type on a document. And I'll just get it to make it a bit neater, and then I can look at what it's got and kind of take bits out of it.
Yeah.
But I think you've always got to use your own voice in there at some point.
You're right.
Oh, that reminds me. I had a message from a guy on LinkedIn the other day. He does something with podcasts. Obviously a memorable person. But his whole thing was, how do you use ChatGPT or Gen AI to facilitate conversations on your podcast? And it was offering things like advice on points or prompts to get conversational topics and stuff.
Yeah.
We should have a look at some point, see if it's of any use.
We should. I think when we start to look at it, we did that once, didn't we not? We did one video where we talked through or something, or gave us an idea to kind of talk through an episode. Which was good, but then there is an element of, I think you touched on this previously about like your own personality.
Yes.
I think we said about LinkedIn profiles or the posts on LinkedIn or something, where it's like, you still got to make it you. And a lot of what we do in the podcasts is our blurb.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't simulate that.
Waffle like this, you mean? But it's interesting that people are making a living out of this now, right?
Yeah.
They're making a living out of, I'll give you some advice on ChatGPT prompts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, but obviously there's a need for it. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Very true.
They wouldn't do it. So what else is going on?
What else is happening? Oh, I'm in the market for a new mic. So I think I might have to upgrade. If anyone knows.
What's wrong?
I don't know. It just sounds very tinny. I don't know. It's not. It's definitely
Really?
not as crisp as yours. I think yours is definitely probably you spend a lot more money on
See,
yours than mine.
No, I think yours is far better than mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So this is
interesting.
so if you're going to buy a new mic, this is a standard USB plug-in one, right?
Yeah.
This is a Yeti Nano, but they do, which is, I don't know, Amazon deal, probably 40, 50 quid or something. But they do a Yeti, which is just maybe a bit bigger than yours. But that's what a lot of people use is the Yeti mic. I think it's what they call them, condenser, compressor. I don't bloody know.
Yeah.
The real terminology, but it's a better one than this. So have a look at those. Yeti
Yeah.
mic, that's what everyone uses. Yeah. Busy then. Busy.
Yes.
What can I tell you?
Well, you just said that you've been in America for a few days.
I'll tell you that another idea. Another time. Let's go back before. I did a trip to put it on LinkedIn this morning actually. Went to Camden Town for the first time ever the other week.
What, to the market?
Yeah, well, I sent you a picture of ducks. That was Camden Town.
Oh, is that where that was from?
That was Camden Town. Yeah, my daughter, as I said before, she's grown up a bit. She's mad on Japanese stuff and anime, and it's all about Hello Kitty and stuff. So she wanted to go around all the shops there and just peruse.
Yeah.
So she was in her element, Miniso and all that kind of stuff that I don't understand. So I went there. What I found with Camden, it's really bright and like the high street, the shops. I mean, some of the boards over the shops are amazing, very artistic and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I think I found it went into the territory of everyone's so different that they're the same. If that makes sense. do you see what I'm saying? Because everyone's trying to be their unique self, but
it's
by doing that, they're all uniquely the same. Do you see what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, it was good. It was good fun.
There's a couple of really nice restaurants around there. Gilgamesh. There's like two. There's one on top of the other one. I can't remember what the other one's called. There's one like in the basement. There's another one, Gilgamesh, which is probably my favourite restaurant ever, where it kind of opens up next to this kind of train line.
Right.
Where you can eat your dinner and just see like the trains going past, sort of thing, and it's like all open space. It's like
I'm a big fan of like the street food there, but
yeah,
I won't give you the full details. We ended up at Brewdog in Waterloo, and I just had some Korean spicy chips there. Lovely. The other thing, do you know what I was going to talk to you about? This is we've got a ServiceNow meetup thing coming up. I'll mention that in a second.
Oh yeah,
trip to US.
Yeah,
and I will talk about this on the next podcast. But this is hot off the press, so I want to get your opinion on this. All right? You've been to the US, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been to a cafe in the US and ordered a coffee?
I was trying to think. No, mostly I've kind of stayed.
Right.
It would have been a McDonald's situation. Well, I've been to restaurants and things like that. So
well, I'm quite a simple person. If you haven't figured this out, right? So if I'm having a coffee, it's like it's just a normal coffee with milk.
Yeah.
Apparently, they call that an Americano, right? That's an Americano with milk.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I get to on day one, I go to this coffee shop, and I said, "Can I have a coffee? Hot or cold?" I was like, "Well, hot."
Oh, I guess like iced coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I get asked lots of questions about milk, and the words were things like oat milk, almond milk, soy milk, coconut milk, goat's milk. I don't know. And then she said things like 2%, 5%. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, I just, and I just went 2%. No idea what it means.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, loads of questions. I end up with a coffee. Lovely. Next day, I went in the same coffee shop and I said, I'll have a hot Americano with milk. Right? I thought I'll anticipate all the questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're just done. Right. I know what you're ordering.
Yeah. Coffee came. I was like, there's no milk in it. I was like, oh, is that what you meant? We thought you meant extra hot water. I was like, extra hot water just
extra hot
surely
water?
just means it's coffee. Right. Anyway, so we had a bit of a laugh and a joke.
Yeah.
The next day, we went to a diner. Oh, it was so good. I'll send you some pictures. It was like a proper 50s diner.
Yeah, I love it.
If you said diner in America, this is what you'd envisage. It
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
I had yes, I was one of these sad people on this occasion, but I took a picture of the food I had. It was like French toast with coconut on it. Oh, it's lovely.
Nice.
Anyway, she comes over and I was like, I'll have a coffee with milk. Right? Guy I was with said, yeah, make that too. Everyone else had orange juices, right?
Yeah.
She brings over orange juices for everyone and then puts 2 pints of milk next to me and this other guy. And there was that look. We were looking at each other going, what's going on? What's happening? We're like, we did order a coffee. She said, oh, I didn't hear that. She just thought we said with milk. I was like, I said, what should we ask for? I said, because I keep getting this wrong. What should I ask for? She said, just ask for a coffee. But who knew? Who knew? Asking a coffee has now got so complicated. I know. Just a coffee.
I must admit, when I went to Chicago, I went to a breakfast place, and I think I ordered pancakes or something. And to be honest with you, what came out was almost like a Man v Food challenge. It was
really?
quite stacked.
Yeah.
Like literally, you got a whole punnet of strawberries, and ice cream and cream and butter and all sorts, everything that you could possibly want with it.
Yeah.
But it was immense. It tasted amazing. I only managed like a quarter of it or something. I felt awful just kind of leaving it.
Oh, I was good. No, you can't be beaten. You can't be beaten by this stuff. You can't.
I know.
Yeah. No, the one of the guys ordered chicken and waffles, and this mountain of fried chicken came up. This was 7:30 in the morning. Mountain of fried chicken came up. He fair play to him. He demolished the chicken. Bit of a nibble of the waffle, but kind of went for the good lad priorities. This brings me back to, actually, do you remember when you and we went to a steakhouse in Cambridge once? We went to a steakhouse. It was a Works Do and a Cambridge, and it was such a good steakhouse.
It was.
And they brought out a mixed grill. They brought out a mixed grill for everyone. So you had, I don't know, chicken, steak, sausages, loads of meat, and then a big portion of fries, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, you won't remember this, but it's stuck in my mind. I remember the first thing you went for is the fries. And I went to you amateur. You never go for carbs. When you go to a kind of meat grill, you go for the important stuff first.
Yeah.
Then the carbs.
That does come back to it. All I remember is it being really good.
Oh, it was good.
I remember the plate, but
I remember because I had your sausages.
Yeah.
That is that going to be the clip of this podcast? Is it?
Yeah.
That's going to be the clip. Just me saying I had your sausages.
No, your sausages. I should bring them in.
Anyway, should we get on topic? Oh, hang on. Before we get on topic, because you've got a topic you want to discuss.
I have.
Just hot off the press, we have in the ServiceNow London meetup community, we now have a new host.
Oh, yes, I did see.
Yes, we've got a new host, Famla. She works for the Process Play. She's now on the hosting team. She's going to be a fantastic addition, already making an impression, bringing some good ideas in. So we're looking to host the next London meetup at some point in the summer.
Okay, so it's going to be London again, so it's not going to go further.
Well, yeah, I guess the clue is in the name when we say London Dev.
Oh, is that what it is? I didn't hear you say London before.
Yeah, it's the UK meetup. We're just going to do it somewhere, and yeah, so that will be coming soon. So if you're listening in the UK, make sure you watch out for that as well. Yeah. Right? Do you want to take us on topic? Because we've spent a lot of time waffling again.
Yeah, well, as we usually do, but
it doesn't matter.
More ServiceNow content than usual today so far.
I know, it's a bit weird, isn't it? A bit weird.
So it was odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my topic that I'm bringing up today is something that is a challenge that I've recently come across, and I wanted to get your perspective on it. So basically, it's basically dealing with change freezes. I think we all come across it. I think you're in a development team. If you're, whether it's agile or not, you always come across change freezes, whether it's in holidays or around, upgrades. There's always change freezes you have to kind of deal with. So I guess my question is, because with the projects I've been working on, there's change freezes involved, and there's a lot of prep that goes into change freezes, especially if you're in agile teams where you're used to deploying quite often into production. So you have to start thinking about a lot of different things about what you have to do to make sure that the work that you're working on is safe and you still have it there to redeploy. So I guess my questions is around, how do you fit in the upgrades or change freezes? How do you communicate what you need to do with the Scrum teams around, how do you advertise that there is change freezes going on in the first place? I think that's one challenge, is that ensuring that you're aware of them. What actions do you take pre-change freeze? What actions do you take post-change freeze?
So paint this into a scenario then. Give us a scenario to work with.
Okay, so in this scenario, let's say on the 1st of July, you have a change freeze coming in place, which is going to be, I don't know, a month long, because you plan to upgrade to Washington. Okay. And you're in a Scrum team where you work on ITSM enhancements and you deploy fixes and enhancements every sprint.
Okay. Am I allowed to ask questions?
Yes.
So anyone listening, so a month's a long time for a change freeze. If right, hang on, before anyone shouts at me about that. If you're using things, the real answer, if you're using things like ATF and Automate Pro and all that kind of lovely stuff, your change freeze wouldn't be that long because you'd be able to deploy to production as quickly as possible. Right, so let's just remove that out of the way. Let's just pretend we've
depends
had that
on the
argument.
size of the instance, but yeah,
it is. Let's remove that from the argument. So when you say change freeze, are you talking production? Anything going into production? Anything going into test? Anything, or change freeze on no dev being created? What's the change freeze for? Just stuff into production?
Yeah, well, this change freeze is for an upgrade, so you're expecting a clone back to development and to the other non-prod environments. So this is This is a hard stop.
Okay. So what you're saying is change freeze, no development to be continuing in the dev environment?
No development, but you could imagine that although the freeze may well be for the whole month for prod, it may just be for the first couple of weeks for dev, for example, until the upgrade and testing's happened around the upgrade.
Yeah.
Until they move on to the other instances up the chain.
I suppose it depends how many instances you've got to play with. Because I've been at places before where we'll have, number one, it varies from organisation to organisation that I've been in. But I've had it before where they have another instance that is specifically for this. So you can carry on development whilst that cloning's happening on the dev environment and it's been all ratified.
Yeah, like staging or lab.
Yeah, I guess so. I can't think of what they called it. Not sandbox, not staging. I don't know. Something. Another dev environment. So you, as a developer, can carry on working whilst all the other work's going on. I'm assuming that the team that our fictional team we've got aren't involved in the clone activities. They're just deving, and there's another team, right? Okay.
Deving in
yeah. So I've been there where you carry on working in another environment and then pull it across, but then you still have to do your own individual checks.
Right? Yes. So you may have to do your own little tests to make sure everything's still tickety-boo. If you don't have APF.
This is it. Yeah, I've done that before. I've equally done it in places where you just don't do any dev for 2 days. I've equally done it where you stand down and have other activities like planning or workshops that are scheduled in for those days.
Training or building up your pipeline. Yep.
Yeah, but so what do you do though? Do you clone back, take your dev out, reload, clone the dev environment to a staging environment where you carry on?
Yeah,
then clone back?
So I think in my experience, again, I know what you're saying in terms of it depends. It depends on the amount of activity going on in your dev instance. I quite like involving the Scrum teams, all the different kind of Scrum teams involved in dev to doing their own set testing, to confirming that, because they're closest to it anyway. If you got dedicated teams for it,
yeah. But what's the scope of that testing look like though?
I think it's just general regression testing. Again, but then that's also something you need to bear in mind for in your sprints, that you might have to document those tests as well. You may well have them on previous stories or something, but you need to think about that regression test plan, which is something that I have almost baked into your story development, is thinking about that as well. So how are you going to retest this down the line?
Yeah.
So that would be my advice: is to back up your update sets, have a set time before the change freeze where it's like almost your code freeze.
Oh,
you get what I mean? Like a development.
I think that's a massive key point that you've just mentioned there.
Yeah.
Is this isn't just something that happens.
Yeah.
This is almost a mini project in its own right.
Yes.
With someone that kind of owns what's going on, is accountable for it, that has a timeline that everyone's aware of.
Yeah.
That's sometimes one of the biggest challenges, actually, isn't it? Is not being aware. Oh, hang on, we're cloning tomorrow. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, and I think that in itself is a great point, because you could have like a internal website or somewhere where you're advertising. This is when we're going to do the clone back, and these are the deadlines you have to meet. There's not too many organizations I've worked with who've actually done that very well in terms of being able to communicate that out to everybody.
It's part of your clone strategy. I know we're talking about clones and change freeze, and clones just feed into one part of that, but it's the main part, right? It's the main one. But it's part of the clone strategy that everyone understands it, and it should be reviewed, right? After every one, it should be reviewed to say, hang on, how did this go? What do we need to do better next time?
So here's a question for you. So I've seen it where people use Teams to communicate that out. People use Confluence or other kind of internal websites. How many times have you seen, for example, and I like this, one of my colleagues come up with it, is utilizing the community part of ServiceNow, like the forums and things like that, to be able to communicate out these events.
Do you know what? I've never seen that ever used. Never.
And that was my response when I heard that, first of all, as well.
Never seen it used.
I think it's a great use case for it. I think to be able to communicate with the right set of people, we're able to publish.
Let me backtrack slightly on what I'm saying there. I've been places where it has been used, but have I been aware it's been used and actively? Is it ingrained in my being to check it, to look at it, to be a part of it? No, it's not. It's just not somewhere I'd go. For me, I don't think there's anything wrong with scheduled calls where people can have the opportunity to have a voice at the table, right? So yes, we're going to communicate to you. I think it's over communication, isn't it? You need communicate to you, Teams, email, whatever.
Yeah.
But us devs, we like to be talked to, right? As well.
Yeah. And I guess it's what
be on Scrum calls, on daily stand-ups, Scrum of Scrums, whatever.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. You need that lead dev who's on top of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Who's able to kind of keep everyone in check.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because it's a coordination activity. But I think if everyone's doing the right things, like documenting the stories, if they've got an implementation plan that you're working on, that doesn't have to be fully signed off, but in draft, so you know where your artifacts are, be it update sets, application versions, or whatever. It's going to make it a lot easier, because I've also been places where that hasn't happened, and you get, we're cloning back in 2 weeks, and you're like, we don't know what's in test. We have an idea what's in test and dev, but can we make a push to production, get stuff out of test into prod? Can we QA and UAT that quick enough, and all that kind of activity? There's a lot of coordination that goes into it.
Oh, definitely.
As we're talking it.
You can imagine the panic and like the just trying to get through things quickly.
Yeah,
like let's get it into prod.
But if you think about it from a customer point of view, right?
Yeah.
And when I say customers, I mean in this instance product owner, or the functions you're doing work for. I'll tell you what can't happen. It's not justifiable to turn around and say, well, we've got a change freeze, therefore we're not going to do any dev. You're not bringing any value. So you got to remove whatever you can to carry on developing, right? To carry on bringing value to the table where you can.
Yeah.
So I just think it's about minimizing the risk, getting stuff out, working in other environments. moving it across and then retest, regression test, like you said.
Yeah, and if you're lucky enough to have one of these other environments that you can be working on meantime, it's a good opportunity to do proof of concepts. I think a lot of that time in change freezes is the time to kind of innovate and maybe start to think about. We said about the roadmap, think about backlog items, maybe even work with them in a separate environment that you can just easily port across.
Yeah.
When you're done, chances are it's going to work because
that's a good point. I mean, we're talking about an agile environment. So in agile, you typically have planning sessions, PI planning. In fact, that's why I was in America. And that should be baked in, right? When are the clone? When's the key dates for the clone? Right, okay. 2 sprints ahead, we need to be thinking about what we can be doing in that time. How long are we going to be down? All the project plan that goes around that. I know we're focusing on clone back, but change freeze is change freeze. But
so have you seen it work in other environments then, where you're able to carry on in dev? So, like you say, if it's an interesting option, like if you had a dedicated instance that you clone prod back to a separate instance to test out the upgrade path to make sure it's all working okay, and then I guess it's a lot quicker then when it comes to just there will still need to be a clone back, but it's a shorter time frame then in terms of clone back, push up to the latest version. You don't need to do as much testing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's the argument that like you said, if you haven't got the instance, a clone takes 4 hours. Let's just say 4 hours. Do that on the evening, carry on working in the morning. What's the risk?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a risk, obviously, but you have to weigh up that risk, right? You have to weigh it up. I think it just differs wherever you go.
Yeah, I did see the timings when it goes to Xanadu. I can't remember if it was at Knowledge. I think it was at Knowledge. They mentioned about that time. It's going to be a lot shorter. I think they're getting it down to like minutes as opposed to hours.
Yeah. I've been places where it's minutes, but again, it depends, doesn't it? Because some organisations like to do the clone back, then the upgrade, and then have a couple of days while they've got their KTLO team just checking it over and going, is that okay before we allow developers free reign again?
Yeah.
And I've also been places that will just go clone back, upgrade, crack on, guys, while we check it over at the same time in parallel.
Yeah. You also want to do that sanity check for your clone back as well. I've seen plenty of examples where you do a clone back, and it's almost one of those forgotten things, isn't it? It's like you're pushing stuff into prod.
Yes.
But you're forgetting about your preservers and your exclusions.
Oh, yes. Clone back and leave email switched on. Ping, 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 ping. Yeah, all been there. All been there.
I haven't got access to UAT anymore.
yeah. What's happened? What's happened? But yeah, we've strayed slightly into the clone back area, which is another topic in its own right.
Yeah.
But when did this come up then? This whole change for this? Did this come up as an internal debate? Did it or?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it came up as kind of like a innovation discussion about how can we make the process of announcing a chain freeze a lot more slicker. So I've seen examples where it's been communicated really well. I've also seen examples where some developers are not aware it's going on. Do you know what I mean? There's no one place to go to find out that information about what's happening. And a lot of it is not about ServiceNow and your guiding principles. It's just about just how it's communicated and how it's managed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the idea where one of our guys come up with the fact of why don't you just use ServiceNow? Why don't you use ServiceNow, the events that comes from the communities area, and being able to communicate it. Maybe even use Connect Chat. Who uses Connect Chat for internal chat? I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the simple answer is just throw it in as a project in ServiceNow.
Yeah.
And you can have all your notifications triggering off the back of that, knowledge articles and all that kind of stuff. But Connect Chat's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because it's like, I guess as a partner, you work on so many different instances for different customers. Everyone's got a different norm, a different communication channel. It's like some will use Slack, some will use Teams, some will use Connect Chat for something, and then everything, and Teams for other things. And it's not easy to not necessarily be onboarded on those, but context switch all the time to say, this one uses Connect Chat for this type of stuff. So you tend to things like, here we go, balloons are going off. That's a new one.
How was that one triggered?
Don't know. Like this, maybe. No. But things like Teams is a fairly normal across the broad the spectrum now. But things like Connect Chat, you have to consciously go, oh, should I be using that? Shouldn't I be? I don't know. So I'm not sure Connect Chat is the right way to go.
Yeah.
Teams is probably
I was about to say, that's
palatable.
probably the most common communication channel now, I think. And coming back to the Gen AI conversation, I think a lot of that will also be, how can you trigger it from Teams? How is the integration with ServiceNow from Teams?
Yeah.
It's almost like everyone's moving into Teams for everything.
Yeah. I'd like to get to a place where, and I've always said this, right? This is straying outside of ServiceNow a bit. I'd like to get to a place, and if anyone's listening to this that knows that we can already do this, hit me up on LinkedIn and tell me how to do it. I'd like to get to a place where I can come into my office in the morning, just talk in this mic and go, tell me what I've got on today, and it just reads out a list of what's happening, and it organizes for me. Mm-hmm. So I thought about this probably 2 or 3 years ago. I'd love to be in the car driving and say, what have I got on my agenda today? And it'll tell me, you've got all these meetings and appointments, whatever. And I'd love it to say, you've got a dentist appointment in 30 minutes. Current traffic is 35. Do you want me to reschedule? That's what I want to get to. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'd love. If my car knew I wasn't going to make an appointment, it'd just call and reschedule the appointment.
Yeah.
We're not that far off, though, right? We can't be that far off.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess, do you put your own, well, that's the thing. You'd have to almost, combine your personal life with your professional life and have
one calendar
Apple
for everything. Yeah, well, the app I've got on my Mac does it. I have different calendars in the same platform, so there's no reason why they can't read each other.
Yeah.
See, I'm living in the future, me. Living in the future. I bet some nerd will turn around and go, yeah, you can do that. You've been able to do that for 20 years. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, probably. I'll probably still stick to my pad and pen.
Oh, God, you love a pad and a pen. Love a pad and a pen. Writing down, scribbling down. Right, so I'm just conscious of time. This has been an interesting debate, but I don't think we've had this debate in order to say this is the answer. I think we've had this conversation, as we always do, just to come to no conclusion whatsoever and just shoot a fat. But I think the main points are it needs to be almost managed like a project. Yeah. Communicated well. Someone needs to be accountable for it and be taken along in the journey. And you need to be preparing for it way in advance. Planned in, like specific work. Like we've got development. I need to create a new field on a form is put in. You need tasks that say I need to be ready for this. Yeah. And it's not just, you mentioned lead developer, and I'm a lead developer sometimes. It's not just a lead dev role. It's everyone's on the same page, right? Everyone's needs to get involved. Developers that are creating stories or bashing out config cannot sit there and think, well, that's someone else's issue. Do you know what I mean? Everyone has to be in the journey.
I think that sums up really nicely. I think the only one thing I'd add to that is the testing bit. I think
don't bother with that.
Don't bother with regression testing.
Just ignore that. No, go on.
Things could go wrong, but
Oh well.
Fix forward.
Joking aside, though, ATF does lend itself to help with the regression testing, but also Automate Pro. I know with one of the founders is one of the guys we worked with when it was back in its early phases. But I know that they definitely one of their USPs for the platform is it helps you keep moving with clones and things. So if anyone from Automate Pro is listening to this, we are available for a fee to keep promoting your product on our podcast. But no, in all seriousness, I don't mind mentioning products when they're good, and they got merit.
Definitely,
just a beer would be nice next time we're in London. Anyway, any closing thoughts before we get back to what is the life of a consultant?
No, Not really. What are we looking forward to now? I've got holiday coming up in a couple of weeks. That's what I'm thinking about.
Ooh, where are you
Holiday
going?
season. Going Mallorca for a week.
Oh yes, you did say. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did say.
Looking
You
forward
did
to
say.
that. Although right now it's flooded, so I'm glad we missed that.
Oh no, we're off to Rhodes. Do you know when I was in the US, they obviously they don't talk about it. Like we'll talk about Mallorca, Spain, France,
Yeah.
and to me it now sounds like just standard package shopping. They talk
Yeah.
about things like Bahamas, Cancun,
Yeah.
Zanzibar, and stuff like that, like really exotic
Hawaii.
places. I'm like,
Mm.
wow. But
Yeah.
again, when you talk to them, it's like, well, it takes us 6 hours to get out of the country, so we have to go big, right?
Yeah. That's true.
But yeah,
That's true.
it's just how things are framed. It's like, and there's me talking about roads. But it's
Roads
good.
is nice.
It's good. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Do you want to take us out, or shall I do it? I'll do it. I'm just here now
You
anyway.
can do it.
As always, a fun debate. I can't even remember how to do it. It's been that long. I can't do it. I've forgotten. You go for it. Forgotten the words.
It's pretty much just. And I've been James.
Oh, and I've been Russ, and this is the Service Ducks.